Hi, this is Hobbs from FreeSource, or Sime, or Simesy, and I'm looking here at the Starshot Initiative countdown. Let's go. Today I want to take you through just my setup for Starshot development, which is focused on, I'm interested in Project Browser, so what I've got is a repo and a set of instructions that I'm going to follow just to set that up. And the repo is just a website. It's basically a DDEV supported website. So I'm going to get that started, and then I'm going to take you through the key things that you kind of need to do project browser development. Okay, before I get into it, I'll just run through the steps that we're going to take. So we're going to clone this repository. We're going to change directory into that clone. We're going to run ddef start, and that's going to use config that's in the repository. Then we composer install to get all our dependencies. And then this drush site install minimal, but we also import the existing config in the site's in the config sync directory, and then we log into the website. Okay, so let's clone. Okay, you can see I've got a ddef site here. If I jump into the config file for that, I've got a drush URI. I have got PHP 8.3. I'm disabling settings management, so I do that all myself, and that's pretty much it. Okay, now I'll run ddev composer install to pull in all the dependencies. So while that's running, let's have a look at that. I've got automatic updates. I have Project Browser. I have Project Browser on the dev branch, and so that allows it to be a Git repo that I can then work with. I've got a couple other dependencies. So the goal is really to install all these things and then to be able to download modules via the Project Browser. So hence having automatic updates, which includes a module called Package Manager, and then I've got a bunch of development stuff here as well. And something that I don't have in here yet is that we will want to install packages that are type of Drupal recipe at some point. So there's a bit of activity going on there. So I haven't got any of that set up at the moment. Okay, so that's finished installing. If I jump back to the README, my next step is to run drush site install minimal. I'm going to import the existing config. So that's an all-in-one installer. So I've exported the config. So I've exported the config that configures Project Browser to allow modules to be downloaded, but not as tar files, for example, and just got everything installed so that when I log in, I want to be able to go straight to the Project Browser. And the final step is to log in. So here's my login, and if I go to extend, browse, okay, so here's my project browser. I also, if I look at, if I go into the configuration and I go to project browser, so there's my settings already set up. So I've got allow installing via the UI experimental, and it's really important here. So if I'm working on a patch that has different sources, those will appear here, but the default ones are enabled. Okay, finally, let's have a look at the code. And so if we jump into Project Browser, so what we've got here is we've got a Git repository. So when we're working with issues on Drupal.org, and there's instructions to add a remote in order to fetch that branch and to work on the issue. So this is where we will do that. I'll always make sure that I've pushed my current work up to Drupal.org, so that really I don't really care if this gets wiped if I rebuild. And then the final thing I want to show you is if I jump over to the README, I tend with my instructive repos to try not to create too many commands that hide things away. So for example, in this will show you how to build the Svelte.js application, and it's just explicit. An explicit long command, yes, they could probably be, these commands could probably be improved with a ddev command, but I do tend to try not to hide things away when I'm making these types of repos. I want you to be able to, if you're setting up your own environment, to be able to just compare and contrast and see what I'm doing, so you can set yours up similarly. Now, I should also say that I haven't installed Starshot. This is not technically about working on Starshot. This is working on issues in Project Browser that Starshot might have dependencies on. And so the reason why I've created a separate environment to work on these is that over time there may be more dependencies. Like I might need to create, like pull in, some patches on recipes or something like that. And so this just gives me a place to work on any project browser stuff relating to Starshot. Or project browser stuff at all. So otherwise there's not actually a lot going on here, and you probably don't need this yourself, but I think it was just, and so the purpose of this is just to walk through the dependencies. So just a quick workflow. If I'm looking at this ticket here, automated Drupal 11 compatibility fixes. So I will come down to the merge request and click on show commands. And so the first thing I'll do is I'll just go into the repo and let's add that remote. And then the second step is to check out the branch, and I'm just going to grab this one. I'm not worrying too much about what I'm getting. I'm just showing you how to do it. So then I'll do something like that. And now I'm on a different branch for Project Browser. And if I do a git log, you can see that there should be some fairly recent changes here, May 13. And so this ticket is simply asking for a review. Finally, I want to maybe talk about the way I see Project Browser fitting into Starshot. So, I've got this square here, which represents, the local files and the website, which is the Starshot website. And so the yellow ones are areas where I think basically Project Browser kind of sits. So the obvious one is that there will be a browse tab in the extend part of the Drupal website. And this will connect to an API. And I think this API here, which is backed by Solar, so it's a new project browsing API. So this is very much of interest to Project Browser. I mean, this is being created for Project Browser. Whether it gets used for other things, that's another story. I think that the metadata in the projects on Drupal.org is massive. So if you go and look through the queue for Project Browser, there are specific areas where they're like reviewing the top 100 modules and making sure that the metadata is good. And then I think over here in the installer, it's a bit of a question mark about whether Project Browser would affect the installation process for Starshot, because in theory it would interact with the core installer, and the question is whether that's a viable goal. But obviously in theory, while you're installing Starshot and it's using recipes locally in the code base, are you able to at that point get recommended recipes and is Project Browser able to offer that functionality? There is also, if you jump into Slack, there's a link to this Project Browser contribution opportunity. So this is a really great read. So have a look through that to see if there's areas that you want to work on. And that's the end of the video. So I hope that helps. If you do end up using the repository that I've created, please feel free to hit me up in Slack if you want to discuss it. Otherwise, I hope this has been helpful to you. Thank you.